Welcome to Talk Direct in Lead Digest, a humble effort to showcase responsible leadership. My guest today is Professor Chari, a multifaceted management guru and academic, having provided expert services to hundreds of organizations and having trained thousands of professionals over the last 50 years or so. His long career included positions such as Regional Director of the National Productivity Council of India, Professor in Operations Management, and finally, Dean Student Welfare at Birla Institute of Management Technology at Noida. He's finally back in his home city and still wanting to do a lot of things when I am catching up with him. Incidentally, I also hear that he is one among the 5 nominees to the Asian Productivity Organization's National Productivity Champion Award, which is given once in 5 years. So Asian Productivity Organization is the apex think tank of all the national productivity councils or centers in the Asian countries. So it's a very prestigious award. And we hope that next time when I catch up with Professor Chari, he would be perhaps the winner of the award. Professor Chari, welcome to Talk Direct. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Ever since I know you some 30 years ago, the name Chari is strongly associated with something called value engineering. So what's this value engineering then? What is it now? And has anything changed in between?
Well, thank you, Sharif, for touching one of the most important chords in my heart, that is value engineering. And whenever I used to walk into any shopping spree, when I wanted to go to on a shopping spree, generally you are either with your brothers, sisters, mother, father, or some friends, and when you want to buy something, the first response that was coming from one of them, Chari, I think it's very costly.
Yeah.
And I would always say that, I think it's worth it. Yeah, go ahead. It doesn't seem to be costly.
Yeah.
Now they said the next question is, they say, how much is this?
Yeah.
So the shopkeeper would put a price there.
Yeah.
So this was the first time I started realizing there are 2 different terminology that I'm talking. There is one is the cost and the other is the price.
Yeah.
And when someone says, okay, cost is something like fundamental to everything. What you exactly spend to produce or generate something, a product or a service.
Yeah.
Okay, it's raw material plus labor plus overhead, machine time, everything.
Yeah.
That is a hard fact. And then comes the price. Price is in the domain of the manufacturer. He decides how much profit to add to that. And okay, he puts up a price.
Yeah.
Now there comes the buyer who is paying that price to acquire that product or service.
Yeah. Right.
And that becomes his cost.
Yeah.
That way, the manufacturer's price becomes the cost of the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I'm using that for something else, to produce something else, this cost will get into a part of my price. And when I sell my product, that becomes a cost to the next man.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a cycle.
Yeah.
So these 2 things I started understanding. And then I was reflecting back on my responses. No, I don't think it's costly. I think it's worth it. So what is this worth we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was the time when, I started realizing there is perhaps a need for a 3rd parameter to judge, everything. And that is where it came the value concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I went ahead in my professional career, I still remember I was in the 2nd year of my training program, and naturally NPC, my parent organization that used to offer training and consultancy for productivity improvement to the industry, to service center, to government, everywhere. There was one request from, the first thing I remember is Hindustan Aircrafts Limited, HAL, Bangalore. That was, the requirement was the chairperson of HAL wanted NPC Bangalore to conduct a training program for his engineers on something value engineering. And I had not heard till that time, that term. Okay. So naturally, it was something different. Value engineering, though later I came to know that it had its roots right from the World War days, as most of the management techniques have developed there. In India, its emergence was only the very late 60s and very early 70s. And what I'm talking is 1973 to be very precise. Now, there was a meeting, and naturally the head of the organization of NPC, a lady, Miss Ina Chowdhury, she called the meeting and she said, this is what the client wants and we have to do it. So how do we go about? The divisional head, he said, no, we have not heard it and we have never done it so far, so maybe we can't do it, just like that. So same response was there from the second in command and the third in command. This went on. So finally, I was a trainee at that time, and the number came to me and she asked me, he said, Chari, what is your view? I said, yes, we'll do it. What is there? So everybody, was looking at me. It's just when all of us are saying no, how the hell you say yes, kind. So this is how are you confident about it? I said, like, we have to try something. That's something new. Somebody is wanting. So it will be learning for me on one place, and I'll try my best to do that because somebody has to go and do it. So then I came to know, through friends and through my library resources, that there was a book on value engineering, value analysis. It was by L.D. Miles, who is supposed to be father of value engineering in the world. Okay, and I just took that book. It was one of the thickest of the books, maybe more than 400 pages thick. Okay, so I went through that. There were beautiful examples there, and when I was reading through the book, my mechanical engineering background told me, Chari, perhaps this is what you might love in future, because it was something like applied to mechanical design initially. Okay. So I read, conducted the program. It went well because it was the first time people came to know something different. Even I learned something different. So it was appreciated well. The 2 days program was over. But within a month, I found the fever was catching up in the industry about value engineering. So next was another organization called Mysore Electrical Industries, MEI. Okay, that was in Bangalore. They were into motor starters and all that. They wanted a program, training program for their engineers on the same subject, value analysis, they call that. So again, a meeting was held, and then they said, oh, this guy has already gone there once, he has done it, so let him go. This repeated, and in Mysore MEI, what I did was, because it was directly linked up with the basic design of products and processes. Okay, I thought, instead of talking the theoretical and taking examples from the books somewhere, if I can link it up and relate it to actual shop floor happenings in their own organization, the understanding connectivity will be better. So I sought their permission. I said, I would like to go through your shop floor. I identified something, one of the direct online starters. And if I remember correct, there were about 7 components in the starting button that we press to start the motor. Okay, and there is a clip inside, and there is a spring, and there is a shaft, and all God knows everything. And finally, when I looked into the functionality of each of these parts, they turned out, and I was able to actually develop another design with only 3 components in that. Okay, and it was doing the same thing what the 7 components were doing. That is pressing the starter inside, connecting. Okay. So that turned out that if 3 parts could do the same job as 7 parts are doing, and that was the model was made, and they were very happy. And, they started looking from 2 angles. One thing is the like intricacies of producing 4 more different parts, manufacturing, assembling 4 more different parts, and naturally, when more components are there in any design, the reliability gets affected because the system can
to that extent,
stop working because of any one of these 4. Okay, so if you reduce number of components, the reliability of the system also improves. So, well, this was a second success. I mean, I was very happy the way responses came. And maybe another month or 2 passed by, and the third organization came NGEF in Bangalore, New Government Electric Factory.
Mhm.
They were primarily into transformers manufacturing.
Mhm.
So then I saw, Sharif, that, in the classroom when I'm talking about the theory part of value analysis or value engineering, and showing them their own product, their own component, telling them this is how you can actually connect them
Mm.
to. And this is how you can analyze and improve upon your design. The acceptance level was very, very, very high. And because they could just connect themselves with their own product.
Yeah.
And here was a tool which was, which was proving very potential to me, helping me in improving upon the existing designs of the thing. That is where value analysis term comes.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
And subsequently, as you read more and interact more,
Yeah.
I started hearing the term value engineering. Now I started wondering what is value analysis versus value engineering. So then I realized value analysis is something you apply to a already existing product or service.
Yeah.
You are analyzing.
Yeah.
Whereas this knowledge, if you can apply right at the design stage of a new product, that is where value engineering comes in. You are engineering value into the new product.
The product itself.
So that was subtle. There, it was a continuous learning. It is still a continuous learning for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
After all the 50 years I'm talking.
Yeah.
Now, this continued forever. Then there was literally like no stopping. And if my memory goes right, I must have done, I must have provided value engineering services to a little more than at least 100 organizations in the country. Okay. And ranging across the spectrum of type of industries, you name it, like textile, like sugar, cement, steel, fertilizers, everything.
Yeah, from what you said, and probably for the benefit of the viewers of this program. So you are essentially talking about eliminating redundancy in design in the components that goes into the product. But at the same time, it's also not cost cutting, right? It's not cost cutting. So you want to eliminate redundancy. So eliminating redundancy also means enhancing reliability, because you have lesser number of elements within the product or something like that. So it's not
Sharif,
cost cutting.
you have just touched on something, if you allow me. I heard you mention cost cutting on one side. It is not cost cutting, and it is something different. So I would just like to refer back to my starting statements where when I came across these three different terms: cost, price, and value. Okay. And earlier, till the 60s, I would say, the general approach of the industry would be on cost cutting.
Cost cutting.
Which normally compromise with the qualitative aspects of the products and services. You naturally, because not much. But with the advent of value engineering, the primary objective is not to compromise on any of the basic requirements of the product or service.
Any of the functionalities. Any of the
functionalities. We are not compromising the same qualitative and quantitative approach. And keeping that in mind, now my approach is how best I can give it to them. Okay. Now, I would say how I look at it is, if you look at a simple ceiling fan, all of us know, okay, it contains maybe, if you split it open, 100 odd components.
Right.
Fine.
Right.
Each component has a function in that. Fine. But if you go to deeper, more and more into the finest features of a given component, to the component, to subassembly, to sub-subassembly, on to the main product. Ultimately, what I look is, what is the fan itself doing? Please, let us understand. And a ceiling fan is, or any fan for that matter, is doing nothing but creating a differential pressure. So that air from high pressure zone moves to the low pressure zone. Simple logic. Okay. Now, if I can find out another way of creating this pressure differential, I don't need a fan. Fine. And going back to the good old the chimney concept in the industries, why they have such a tall chimney? It's a natural draft that is created, and air flows.
Yes. In the concept of productivity, that's also what we say. There's always a better way of doing things.
Oh yes.
So it could be a better way, it could be a different way, it could be better and different. All these combinations are.
I say it a little differently.
Yeah.
I say even the best can be bettered.
Better, yeah, absolutely. So I think it's also mindset which needs to be. So it also needs critical thinking of the people,
Yeah.
and also they need time and space to have critical thinking. I mean, if you don't have the time and space, then you hardly are in a position to do any of these things. But I just want to then quickly come to a recent, recent news, recent discussion in the media. So recently, one of your more than 3 decades old idea of replacement head for toothbrushes. It was discussed in the media. I happened to see that. And it was discussed more so in the context of the fact that a leading brand in India is actually coming out with that product. So can you tell that story?
That was perhaps sometime in the mid 80s, to be very precise, 1985, I remember, when I made that. I thought, what could be the most common single example that every participant would understand, wherever, irrespective of which organization I'm going.
Yeah.
And then it turned out toothbrush was one common thing. Everybody uses
it every day.
So I thought, why not I take this as an example? And then I took the functional analysis approach that is applied in value analysis. You look into that, every product has a primary function to be performed. That's why it is designed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, when you look into toothbrush and go deeper into that, the primary function of the toothbrush is to clean your teeth.
Yeah.
Fine. And it is, if you look into the functionality, it is the bristles of the toothbrush that actually perform the intended function of cleaning the teeth that go into all the crevices. Okay.
Yeah.
So primary function, but to make it operative and make it easy to use, I have a handle with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bristles are mounted on the handle.
Yeah.
Now, my value analysis approach or value engineering always, there's a basic approach which says 80-20.
Yeah.
Like whatever I'm incurring, 80% of my cost should go towards meeting the primary functional requirements.
Sure.
And very less for the secondaries. Fine. So if my bristle is costing me 2 rupees, my objective becomes that my rest of the system should not cost more than 40 paisa for me.
Yeah.
Or if it is costing me like $2, it should not cost more than 40 cents for me.
Yeah, right.
But when you collect the costing of any toothbrush, it turns out exactly the other way around. Almost 90% of the cost of the toothbrush goes into the handle making. A very small part of 10 or 15% actually goes into the bristles, which are primary. And unfortunate part is, everybody now would realize that, once the bristles outlive their life, all we do is just throw the whole handle. And literally nothing has happened to the handle minded.
Yeah, right.
Now, the other side, this was my first observation. Then I started working out. When I'm talking at that time, the India's population, the world population was quoted at about 6 billion. Okay. Yeah. I estimated that even if I assume that only 1/4 of the entire population uses toothbrushes, at a minimum 2 brushes per year, each one uses. That those who are using.
Yeah.
So that means 25% to 2 is 50% of the entire population.
Yeah.
So that was a mind-boggling figure. I realized that the world over, I think we are generating about 3 billion pieces of plastic every year.
Yeah.
And throwing them. And then facing the problem of plastic pollution. And this is minded only one of the many millions of other plastic items. But 3 billion is a number.
Yeah.
So that caught my attention. I said, can something be done on that? So I thought about it, thought if nothing has happened to the handle, I would not like to throw. Like we don't throw everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So how is that possible? So the first concept that came in, can I have a split design? So that I throw only what has worn out and keep the rest of it, which has nothing has happened to it. So in that I created about 3 optional, designs with a split design kind. And this I was using in my various training programs, found that that was the most liked example because everybody could connect. So this went on. Then it was sometime in 1991 that I produced my video program on this. Okay. And it was only 2017 I decided to put it on my YouTube channel, the video. And yeah, it was very pleasantly surprising for me recently, about 3 months, I think it's not more than 3-4 months. When one of my friends sent me a small clip of Colgate Palmolive. Colgate has brought up the split design on the same principle that I propagated, I would say. And another month passed by, and then again Oral-B, which is again one of the toothpaste giants in the world. Oral-B has come up with another design out there. So Colgate called it like Colgate keep the handle with you kind. And Oral-B, I don't know, they gave some other name also. But unfortunately, it took more than 3.5 decades for a concept to be brought into practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, there are a couple of takeaways from what you said. One is 3 decades ago, you were concerned about plastic pollution, which was a non-issue that time. In fact, we loved plastic more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
We almost loved plastic. Anything to do with plastic was a lovable piece of thing. So this far-reaching kind of thought that this is going to pollute, this is not biodegradable, and all those things, and so. And the other observation is that something sensible like this, but it also takes decades for the society and for those responsible to do it. Now, can you give some examples of value engineering, typically in the industrial sector?
One of the very, very large and oldest steel plants in the country. Okay, in the public sector. I was interacting with them on various value engineering training events and all that. And value engineering, by the way, Sharif, is one of those management tools which can give you the countable results overnight. You don't have to wait for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year to see the results.
Absolutely. I can understand.
You start doing it today, and tomorrow morning there are results, countable. Okay? So this catches attention of the management. So this particular steel plant I was telling, they were worried about their very high consumption of one additive they use, ferromanganese, for making steel, a particular grade of steel. And their consumption norms was coming at about 22 kilograms of ferromanganese per ton of steel. Okay. And they were making about 1.2 million tons of steel per year with that process. Okay. It was a huge sum. And they had set up some technical committees inside within the system, and they have been working for a couple of years by then without any success. And they had set a target to bring it down to 20 kgs. Okay. And that was the time when I entered into this gamut, and I took this as a project and formed a team. I always my approach is to form a team from within the organization, because those are the people who know their industry, who know all the processes, and outsiders like me won't understand that. But my job is only like bridging the gap. Okay? So after forming the team, when we went into too many details and one beautiful song, it's a very long story that might go into 2 hours, but I'm just crisply bringing. After all the exercise, some solutions came. Okay. And then the approach was, I just simply asked, I said, you want to reduce the consumption of ferromanganese, okay? Yeah, they say, yes, naturally. I said, then why 20 from 22? Why not 0? Simple, don't use it. And when you say don't use it, immediately they say, no, sir, if we don't use it, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. And that is exactly the functionality of ferromanganese. If you don't use that, what it will happen is what it is doing. Okay. It's as good as if you don't put on a winter clothing in Siberia, what will happen? I'll die. So I have to protect myself. So I need winter clothing. There is another private industry, very famous private steel manufacturer in India, one of the largest. They said they also use the same process technology and they are getting 18 kilograms now.
Okay.
I said, then 18 should be my benchmark at least.
Benchmark. Yeah.
And I don't go by benchmark because I'm a firm believer, Sharif, that even the best can be bettered. I always
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing like best in my dictionary again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because everything can be improved upon.
Improved
It's
upon.
only best perhaps at that.
Yeah. At that particular.
So when I said let's start with zero, and we went into too many details, the questioning and that
Yeah.
so-called design thinking or thinking of design kind, correct? Deeper. They turned out one process we identified, and the risk factor was there. This was one occasion where I found where the managing director of the company takes a calculated probabilistic statistical risk. That was a class case. The situation was you have to try it out on about whatever changes have to be made. They have to try on 2,250 tons of steel, 9 ladders of 250 tons each. And that was costing at that time about 1.2 crores.
Yeah.
And everybody used to be asking, what will happen if it fails? We lose.
Yeah.
Okay, so much. So I said, we are worried about what will happen if it fails. Why don't you say, if it passes, what? Okay. Yeah. Why are we looking at failure only? And unless you try out something, you won't pass. And you take a gut feeling anyway you have. So the MD came and then he said, no, it is not a complete loss. Even if we fail, I can reprocess the steel and it will cost me only about 12 lakh rupees one time. Let it fail. But if it succeeds and what the projections they are giving, the profits or the savings will be perennial for all future times to come. Every year I'll save that much. Lo and behold, Sharif, we got a figure of 9.8 kgs, perfectly tested steel.
Yeah.
And after that, he wanted me to be present for next 10,000 tons, physically present there.
Yeah.
See it happening.
It's happening.
And overall, over this 12,250 tons of steel that was produced in my presence there, okay, we got an overall figure of 9.8 kgs converted, right, bringing it down from 22 kgs. Okay, so things can happen.
Okay. Now, but is this value engineering limited to, you mentioned it's not, but then I'm just trying to stress on that point. Is it limited to the engineering industry, or can it be applied to other sectors such as banking, transportation, or even in government, for instance?
I think your question is very apt here, Sharif. Though, it started with the mechanical components initially, okay, and more applied in the mechanical kind of production scenarios. But, the very approach is the functionality. And functionality means anything and everything any one of us is doing, okay, involves consumption of time, some material, some machinery, okay, and all of this costs us something. So be it whether it's a manufacturing industry, not only mechanical, electrical, electronic, production I'm talking, or a service sector, or even the government operations. Everybody is doing something. So if the moment I can start relating that with the functionality, what is the purpose, why you are doing this, and what do you really want to achieve? And I will find out a better way to achieve that. That's all my approach. Value. So but coming as a crisp small answer to your question is, yes, value engineering approach can be applied across the world to any operation. That's my standing thing. And if I may share with you, one similar situation you are asking me today, 2021. And another friend asked me a similar question way back in, God knows, in the late 70s. Can it? He was a banker incidentally. Can it be applied in bank? And, that gave us a chance to start talking to the banking people, because you are always looking for new clients kind. So I said, yes, we organized this seminar for interbank seminar. And I took up a case study of comparative processes involved in sanctioning a loan in two banks. One was Syndicate Bank and one was State Bank of Mysore in Bangalore. Fine. The purpose was same. that is sanctioning a loan. We start from the loan taker approaching the bank first. At the last stage is money is in hand.
Yeah.
It is given.
Yeah.
Now, he is requesting for money and I am giving money. This is starting and ending. In between, the process comes.
Yeah.
And one of these banks had 23 different forms to be completed and filled to process the entire loan process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other bank, if I remember correct, they had something like 17. So I just purpose is same. Why these you are taking 23 and why he is managing with 17?
Yeah.
And I went into finer details of that. It turned out that more than 3/4 of the total time taken in handling this 23 format was going into repeating and not repeating, but rewriting the information that was already available on some
Already
other.
available. Yes.
It was sure, pure redundancy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And finally, to meet all those things, at that time, me and my other senior colleague, we sat back and we designed a 7-paper format design to replace this 23 papers.
23 papers. Yeah.
Okay, forms rather. And that was tried and tested. And this was one of the major case studies in that 2 days of conference that we organized for the bankers at that time.
Now, my question is, so this is from the bank's point of view of having so many unwanted, redundant things. But if you look from a user point of view, in the information era, we are also bombarded with highly repetitive things just because in the government side or the institutional side, there is no thinking. It also means that when companies, especially in the service sector, when they design service deliveries, and also the government when they roll out programs, they also should consider the most recent thinking of user experience. So you really have to have a user experience design. What are your experiences abroad? I heard you've also done some work for UNEP and United Nations Environment Program.
Yeah, I think these are two different issues you are bringing up, Sharif. Let me address both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
See, any technology has its own, the sides, both plus and minus.
Yeah.
You're right, the individual productive level, on an average, I think each one of us is wasting, if not more, at least an hour and a half or 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
In going through finding out the messages, whether it is okay for you or not.
Yeah.
Now, the guys who are sending this message, they must also realize, because I'm a firm believer, Sharif, I always have been saying, and even now I say that you are a very happy customer. Is your unpaid salesman also. Don't pay me, he becomes your salesman. Okay? If he is happy. But if he is unhappy, he could become your enemy also.
Enemy instantly.
He might go and spread negative message about it. Now people are not realizing by this bombarding. Sometimes it becomes so irritating at a stage, then you simply block that guy, block that company.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm frustrated with this and I don't need this. And not only I'm stopping there, but I'm also going and telling Sharif and X and Y and my friends.
Hey,
this guy, don't talk to him. It's a waste of time. In the process, more damage is being done to them if they're not very careful of that. Now, second thing is, yes, the positive side of that is all this so-called digitization process that has gone on the communication side. There are many areas are there where there is the interlinkage with some common source of base information about an individual, the case, and the processing is much faster. Something like the passport making days, good old days of passport making, and today if you see all the verifications, everything is being done online, and you save time and effort. You don't have to go here there. But misuse of this technology is too much. And half the time, you and me, we are also culprits to some extent that the way messages come,
Yeah.
without even verifying the
Verifying.
authenticity
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm blindly copying, pasting, and forwarding it
Forwarding
to
it. Yeah.
another thousand.
Another. Yes. Another 1,000.
Just imagine that it took me only 2 seconds to forward.
Yeah.
But for those 1,000 people,
Yeah.
it will take, each one will spend at least half a minute on that.
Yeah.
So something like 500 minutes I'm wasting
Yeah.
because of my 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And same thing others are doing to me.
Yeah. In fact, Professor, sorry for.
So one has to be sensible in using the technology also.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very complex subject, so I cannot.
It's a very complex subject, and it's actually slightly out of our topic. But
yeah,
having discussed this, but I also want to subscribe to your view that especially the fake news. First of all, it's fake, so it's going to do some damage that way. Apart from that, thousands of people are going to waste their productive hours reading that, and about 20% are going to spend further time trying to find out whether it is real or fake. There is, it's not value engineering, but I think from the kind of productivity concept which productivity movement which we had in the nation. So I don't know how many years ago, but in the 70s perhaps. I think we also need to talk about it in the context of the digital technologies. Everything is not rosy and fantastic about these so-called disruptive technologies. Anyway, we'll come to that. Now, I would like to know about the UNEP experience.
For the past about decade and a half, I suddenly, got interested in waste recycling as a circular economy approach. Okay? And I must say what happened exactly was when I started working on waste, I realized, my NPC days, when we were taught about productivity is equal to output upon input, and output is nothing but input minus waste upon input, and you then 1 minus waste upon input, and if you minimize waste, the productivity goes high. Okay. So waste as a word, it doesn't find a place in my personal dictionary. One thing, because I believe that there is nothing called waste in this world. Everything has a purpose. Okay? And how I started working on looking at waste is like, after all, a waste of any industry or operation has come out of the precious resources that I have already used as input. Only it's in a different form. Okay. Nothing new has come in from anywhere. If I use copper, it's a copper related waste. If I used iron, it's iron related waste. So and every waste that is coming out has certain characteristics of its own. And why people call it waste and reject it, or they get dejected out of it? Because they don't know a proper use of that. So that's why it is a waste for them.
Maybe proper value of it. Maybe proper value.
Okay, now let us use that value. They don't know because. Now, with this in mind, this was actually also a point of when we're talking like 5 decades of my working in this area. The last 15 years made a dramatic and drastic reversal in my approach, I would say. Till that time, I always have been talking like when you say value analysis or value engineering, you have a function to perform. And then you are finding out a solution for that, okay? A device. Now, this is a case when you talk about waste recycling or waste utilization, the game is reversed actually. Here you have a product or a service with certain characteristics, and you're trying to find out a functional utility of that. Okay, just the reverse. And now, why? Because every waste, it has certain characteristics. So if I know what is in it, what chemicals, what physical characteristics, what chemical characteristics or other characteristics, then I can start finding out an appropriate use for that. That is my approach on this. Every characteristic has an application somewhere in the world. Only thing is, you don't know it today. Fine. So the reversal of this role of functionality versus design gets into design versus functionality.
Functionality.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because now you have certain thing with certain characteristics. And you're trying to find out an application and use of these characteristics.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So that is how the road reversal I'm talking. And I got fascinated with that and started working, and then very accidentally the teacher I became later in life. Okay. That was a role reversal too. And you start talking a lot on publications. And my peers started asking, why don't you write something? Why don't you publish something? Why don't you write something? So I started putting back all the work that I have done in my life, putting in some shape. I'm not a researcher by nature or by habit. Now, it was this writing or publishing that helped me sometime. When someone, from Tokyo, Osaka, from the United Nations Environment Program observed my works, and they approached me and with a request to do some compendium of technologies for recycling waste petroleum oils.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All the lubricant.
Yeah, very specific.
When we use car after 8, 10,000, 15,000 kilometers, you reject the engine oil, throw it off, and again repeat. So till about 20 years back, it used to be like dumped down the drain because no known usage was there. But people started finding out, and this entire study, the compendium that I prepared for UNEP, is about 170 plus pages of document sitting on the United Nations website. Okay, it covers about 21 technologies that are used. There are chemical, there are physical technologies, chemical technologies, and others, electrostatic also, which help in recovering the useful oil from these waste oils. And surprisingly, it turns out that about 85% of the so-called waste oil is being regenerated into virgin base oil. And base oil is the base for making any lubricant, industrial lubricant. Okay. Second time, UNEP approached me, and this time they said, we don't want a theory, we don't want a report, but we want demonstration of waste utilization. So are you ready? So I took it up, and they specified on agricultural biomass, waste agricultural biomass, mind it. Okay. Because most of the biomass, agricultural biomass, has been traditionally put to some use, basically into the fuel, right? Okay. Part for construction, part for architecture, part for something. But beyond that, also there was a part which was lying idle in the ground, in the fields, and which was generally burnt. Okay. And the realization was, after all, it is a vegetation product. And just like wood from the trees, after all this barks and other things, everything is a vegetation for me, and it must have some carbon value in that. So along with a team of my friends, we started working on the usage of this waste agriculture biomass by briquetting them, like solidifying them, compressing them, and then using that as a fuel briquettes in gasification process. And we put up, and one demonstration project was put up near Delhi, in a place called Sona. And the best part that came out was, from a pure agriculture waste, which was otherwise being burnt in the fields and creating pollution problem. And they got a payback period, simple payback period of just 5 months. Just imagine. Normally, payback periods, we talk in years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time. This is 5 months. This became a very successful thing, and it has been replicated elsewhere. Okay? So that was one demonstration project which, I got a chance to be visiting Cambodia and Costa Rica and Osaka for sharing this success story. And United Nations has been inviting me on various occasions. So this gave a larger dimension to the entire approach of waste recycling. Now waste, it was not only, now fuel is something. I was working similarly on another agriculture waste, that was a rice husk. The husk comes from the rice mills. And it so happened that till the late 80s, rice millers used to be calling people, paying them money to take this waste. Waste take and dispose. They were paying money. They started using the rice husk as a basic fuel instead of wood chips for gasification. So I remember how the economy changes, the
Yeah.
circular economy.
Yeah.
It's a class example.
Yeah.
First time when I went, this rice miller paid me money to take his material, take his waste. After about 3 months, when I reached him a second time for a second supply, he knew that this guy is coming a second time for something. So there must be something in it.
Yeah.
So he just straight away said, Mr. Chari, I'm not going to pay you anything. You have to take it just free. I'm not paying. I was happy I took.
Yeah.
Third time it was still surprising. He said, now I will charge you money.
Yeah.
And this reversal was that he knew that somebody else is making money from his waste.
Yeah.
Okay, otherwise he won't come a third time. Okay, he's making use of it somewhere. So he said, and believe me, this started, and in the next about 8 years' time, this 100 rupees has gone up to 3,000 rupees per ton. Just mind it. By the year 2000, it became uneconomical for me.
Yeah.
Now, when people started using mass scale, in powerhouses, power generation, biomass-based powerhouses, and industry started using in furnaces, the demand for rice has increased.
Yeah.
And in a place around Delhi today, it's being sold at 4,000 rupees per ton.
No, I see. Okay.
Now, my interest ended in 2000, about 3-4 years passed. Then when they started burning, my attention was drawn to the ash that is being generated out of burning of rice husk. So I got a little curious, I said, what could be the characteristics of this ash? I took a sample, I got it tested in one of the laboratories, my friend's laboratory. And it was shocking, Chari, to come to know next day when he called me and says, Chari, can I get more? I said, why will somebody ask for more of a waste? Unless there is something good in that.
Something good in that.
So I said, why? I said, why do you want more? He said, Chari, this is the best source of amorphous reactive silica I have seen in my life. And he was a cement expert, mind it.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cement industry used a lot of silica for blending.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So he said 92% of anything is good. Okay. And I said, it is strong in that area. It is 92% strong as far as amorphosity of silica is concerned.
Yeah.
Now I started working out on that. I said, what could be the various usages that I can put this amorphous reactive silica to? And silica just came sand.
Yeah.
And I started using it as a basic sand in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It turns out, today, people are making money out of it instantly. And, it has proven to be a direct 100% straight substitute for natural riverbed sand.
Riverbed sand. Yeah.
For construction purpose, for plastering, for cementing. Okay. And you can imagine the estimated generation of this ash, this waste in India is to the tune of about 5.5 million tons per year.
Oh, I see.
It's every year, 5.5 million tons equivalent of natural riverbed sand substitute is available to us. So like this, I started working. Another case is like, if, in India, there's a state called Rajasthan, which is famous for its marble.
Yeah.
At Rajasthan state alone is estimated to be generating about 5 million tons of marble dust every year by cutting the slabs.
Yeah.
And the mountains of them, people have been facing, there are health hazards related with that, silicosis related.
Yeah.
I got curious about that. It took me 3 years to talk to people and do, because I don't have a wherewithal, I don't have factory. So I took help from one of the CSI laboratories.
Yeah.
And I told them, look, it is not a waste. It is a beautiful, precious material for me.
As good as the marble. As good as the marble. Yeah.
It is a marble dust minded. Its only thing is not in the stone format that you are commonly known, used to, but it's in a powdery format.
Yeah.
Now, what stops me with all the technology available with me? Why can't I compress it, sinter it, make it into a solid slab, and you start getting beautiful marble slabs or tiles? Okay, never. So with that help, I was successful, in getting tiles developed out of that, building blocks developed out of that, which is a beautiful business opportunity also for people.
Yeah.
Let me also share one thing at this stage.
Yeah.
All my approach, literally, it was a slow development, but yes, the more you think, I have followed actually the ecological principles in my approach. Mother Nature, I go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mother Nature, all the living beings, if you see, there are 4 types of living beings on this earth. Okay. One is the herbivores,
Yeah.
which are surviving on herbs, like vegetarians.
Vegetarian.
Okay, many of them.
Yeah.
Okay. There are the carnivores who kill other animals and eat.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Second category.
Yeah.
This third category is saprophagus rate.
Yeah.
Saprophagus means those who live on dead animals or dead plantation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And there's a fourth category that falls under the caprohagus group.
Yeah.
And caprohagus group is that which lives on the excretion of other animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And fly is one of the typical cases, but there are many such animals which live on the excretion. Now, I started thinking that can we, being the so-called technocrats, start thinking about creating caprohagus type of industries. That is, those industries who use the waste, that is excretion of some other industry, as their raw material, as food.
Yeah.
And convert that into a useful product. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how Mother Nature is beautifully balanced. You reduce your dependency on natural resources and keep them for the future generation. I'm always worried about if only my grandfather used the resources the way I have been using now, nothing would have been left for me. So is it not my duty to leave these things for my future generation?
That brings me to the question, the automation in the industrial sector started long ago, and it was perfected through now what we call as Industry 3.0, and we have started giving names. In the information era, we started automating business and financial processes and things like that, moved on to IoT, and now we are talking about Industry 4.0, when which is largely employing the full information communication technology to manufacturing. And now you have the game changer, which is called artificial intelligence. So everything is going to be technology driven. For somebody who is not thinking like you, I also know you since a long time, but you have gone through this transformation, the entire transformation. Like, for instance, when I first touched, and probably in your case also, a computer was, 4 rooms. After a while, the technology has completely, got miniaturized, and I may exaggerate by saying that, it's like garland in the hand of monkeys. Everybody has some piece of technology, but how you use it depends on what is your level of responsible behavior in a society. The life is going to be technology driven. The lot of things will be produced and consumed. There will be, consumed in a rapid fashion, and in the whole dynamics, these fundamental practices of like value engineering, productivity, methods improvement, and even having these kind of people are talking about circular economy, but who has the time and patience? Will these things work now, or you'll be completely technology driven in the years to come?
But I'm seeing quite some sense in the point that you are bringing. Let me start with one thing. You said, will value engineering still hold? Okay? So being a value engineer by blood, I would say yes. Because even if I talk about the advanced stage of the latest robotics or the AI built up machinery, that machinery will have certain components which need to be designed the way they have to work. Okay. Till yesterday it was a nut, but tomorrow there may not be a nut. Fine. Something else has to be made. How that would look like, what will the value added to that? So approach to be, it seems that instead of making X till now, I will be making Y tomorrow. Fine. And it is going to be a physical entity anyway. Even a robo has a physical entity.
Physical entity, yeah,
It
absolutely.
has hands and what material to use, what is the best material.
Yeah.
But now coming to this, the advancement, I don't think I'm going to answer your question or not, but what comes to mind is, see, if you look into this so-called, I started hearing about this so-called Industry 4.0 just about not more than 6-7 years back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before that, nobody was perhaps even talking about that.
Yeah.
People were, and more so in the academic circle.
Yeah.
But, I had never heard Industry 3.0, 2.0, 1.0 or 0.0 in all the last 5 decades. But now somebody having said 4.0, people have started talking, oh, 3.0 might have been that, 2.0 might have been that, 1.0. So it is only like throwing back.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what they're worried about, what all of us are worried about it, the pace at which the technologies are multiplying. Okay. It is highly exponential. And we are getting worried about that. But if you see, the technologies have been continuously on the change ever since the industrialization took place.
Yeah.
We have adopted the technologies on one side and adapted ourselves to the new technologies. We have been continuously learning. The mankind has been learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the things have changed drastically from then on now. But, we adapted. Now people are worried. If you have a skill today, tomorrow a new skill will be required. So you have to upskill yourself anyway. Let me take a simple case of textile. All of us know.
Yeah.
We have seen the days, of the handicraft and handlooms kind, where a guy would skill, he was a skilled job. So you have a warp and a weft and tuck, is doing. Now, when the demand started, somebody thought about a power loom instead of hand loom. Can I mechanize it?
Yeah.
So they came to the power looms. Now, power loom needed a separate, different set of components and parts which needed to be designed anyway, like the shuttles, everything. Now, when the demand started increasing further, they were how to make it faster. Weaving per se has been always there. There is a warp and a weft, depending on design of the cloth. But then it was the speed at which the weaving took place. So they moved over from the shuttle stage to maybe the air jet weaving to water jet weaving, magnetic jet weaving, and all kinds of technologies have been coming up, making it faster and faster and faster. Now, and people, the same labor have been upskilling themselves to adapt to the new technologies. They were not unemployed. They were given training. Now, just think, Sharif, we are too worried at this stage. Now, so far, all this change, we are talking about the weaving technology, right? Where we are assumed and taken for granted that the cloth has to be woven. Supposing tomorrow a man like me asks about how about a non-woven cloth? What will happen? All this entire weaving technology will go away. Because of this pandemic, suddenly challenges were thrown at us. Okay. We as academicians, I have been into academics for the last 12 years. Okay. And suddenly overnight, we were forced to shift from the blackboard and whiteboard stuff to online. And so now the computers for this, the chips for this, and all these gadgets we are using, they are physical entities and they need to be produced. And there I would definitely apply value engineering.
What we are really talking about is actually harnessing the goodness or potential of technology in making life easier, right? And not making life complex in any manner. So that means we also need to strike a balance how technology works in the society and how is it impacting society and how much of it is like transforming for the better and things like that. Now, like we are in the middle of this pandemic, and then in fact technological advancement brought us vaccines in record time. We can't deny that. I mean, not one, many. I mean, which otherwise would have taken years. The digital technologies also helped us, as you rightly said, to catch up with the new normal of working, remote working, working from home, and all those things. But looks like we still need, because yet we are nowhere near controlling the pandemic, right? As of now, we are still, everything is uncertain. And I tend to conclude that it looks like we still need sufficient human brains to handle things holistically, empathetically, and strategically. I hope you agree with that. So this is a fundamental thing which you and I are trying to, we are trying to articulate and say we need to preserve this. There is no miracle and wonder solution which technology is going to offer unless the human component is integrated.
Chari, I'm just tempted to share with you something.
Yeah.
We, at some point of time, you touched upon the productivity-related issues and about the employment-related issues, technology, advancement, many things we talked. I'm just telling you, left to myself, how I would like to do is, instead of, concentrated technology that replaces a human being state, okay, by mass manufacturing process and all that. I always appreciate the guys who ever thought about designing the kind of robots that can go at 1100 degrees centigrade into the furnace, pick up a hot product and bring it. Otherwise, the manual labor would have waited 24 hours for it to cool down to bring it out.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
That is the place, those are the kind of places I would like technology to go. So that productivity is enhanced. And, the heat losses and thermal efficiencies and fuel and oil, everything will be taken care of. So what kind of, the technology, what kind of material that can get into 1100 degrees centigrade without getting melted itself. It can pick up something hot, as hot as 1100 degrees, bring it out for you. Instead of you having to wait for next 24 hours for it to cool down.
Prof. Chari, you brought a very, I think our discussion will be unending this way, but then I also need to tell you that provokes me in saying, if I am to use robots and artificial intelligence and things like that, my priority will be to have robots and, like robots, for instance, not in stacking material in a warehouse, but unless the material is so heavy and very difficult to handle, or not to replace a guy in a pharmacy, where the robo picks the medicine. On the other hand, my priority will be having robots which will go into tunnels, address a problem, or do an investigation, go into a mine, as you rightly said, go into a furnace. So I think the technology push is actually not giving enough space for mankind to, because you were saying earlier that you are trying to find use for a material waste in the context of waste. We need to ensure in all what we do is that at the end of the day, life on Earth is more important than any of these things.
No doubt about it.
You have to put the people in the center.
Yes, at the top.
At the top and center or wherever, and then work things around it.
Around that.
Sure. I know that you are into circular economy, waste cycle. You have already said waste recycling, but also into design thinking. So we need to talk about it in detail, because design thinking is not for designers; it's actually for everybody. Professor Chari, it has been a pleasure and a privilege catching up with you after so many decades. And, thank you for sharing your valuable experiential knowledge and, very innovative ideas. We will again catch up. And I would like to wish you the best for the National Productivity Champion Award, and probably we should be able to.
I wish I turned out to be one out of the 5,
Yeah.
And with your wishes, maybe that might happen as well.
Yeah, I
But
think so.
at
I
least
think so.
as of date, I'm happy that you are at least 1 out of the 5 in the country. So
Yeah,
that
right,
itself
right, absolutely.
will be enough.
So, yeah. On that note, once again, thank you very much.
I must thank Lead Digest and you, Sharif, also in person for having planned, having conceived this idea of the interview and planned it this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.